reading up all of the amazing comments in the forum, chimed in on a piece that I thought I had something to contribute to. Excited to be here with you guys. And oh my God, I'm feeling Lauren, and I'm like, I want to help you. But yeah, that's where I'm at. I got a meeting with Claire this week to make some recommendations based on our analysis of the reward reports and things. So play with that a little bit. And yeah, generally cranky about mainnet and Gitcoin. And I love you guys. And let's make a plan for not being on mainnet anymore in the future. There's something better. I love you guys. I'll give it to Nicola.
Thanks, Danny. Happy Monday. I am feeling slow. It's my moon week, so I'm going to be gentle with myself. And I also feel like, though I have a million bazillion little small tasks on my plate, so verification, improving documentation, focus on Eve Barcelona. I got some cool plans and gravity and some comms stuff too. I don't know. There is more. I'm still figuring it out. And I'm here to also for sure I wanna work and engage in the forum, guys. That's like my everlasting challenge. And I know there's a lot of important discussions going on, and I want to jump in and say my opinion. And I'm here to sync up, and I'm gonna give it to Griff.
GM. I am feeling curious. If I love Playa del Carmen, I wonder if Mitch is moving there. We could move the whole Giveth crew over there. Just thinking. No, damn. I love Playa del Carmen though. Yeah, and feeling good. Intentions for the call or whatever. Like focus for the week. Fundraising. Getting all the money out of optimism. I hope. Giveth got theirs, but everyone else needs more. And building the optimism strategy. It's really my focus of the week with Breachies. And intentions for this call just to survive and play the Mitch show. I'm always enjoy the Mitch show. I'll throw it over to Carlos.
GM, what's up, everyone? I jumped in like a few seconds ago, so it's distractions and intentions for the call, right?
No. On our governance calls, it's a bit different.
Okay.
We're gonna go. Tell me how you're feeling. Your focus for the week, because it's Monday, and your intentions for this call in specific. So, three things. It's on the screen.
Got it.
Ready,
I'm
set,
feeling
go.
very caffeinated. I just chugged a couple of espresso, so I'm feeling good. And my intentions for the week are to put some Portuguese phrases that I just learned into use during my trip to Lisbon. And for the call, my intentions for this call. Oh, just learn more. Sorry, I butchered. Yeah, just get more familiarized with the governance structure here at Giveth. And I don't know who went before me, but I'll go with Nicola.
Oh, Nicola
Oh, darn. Mo.
Hi everyone. I'm feeling good, almost. My focus for this week is just trying to find my focus. Basically a lot of stuff that I need to take care. So yeah, that's a bit lost there. And intention, just sync up with everyone and see what's going on here. And I pass it to the next Mo.
Yeah, I was just writing this that always saying Mo if you don't know who to pass it. There are Mo's that can take. I'm feeling stoked about everything that we're gonna build this month and the next month. And I'm a little bit distracted. My focus for this week is just to get the Silo token get out, instant boosting get out next week, and testing it a lot, and help developers get more focus for their job. Twitter praise also, we have to create issues out of it with Maxwell. And lots of things. And my intention for this call is just to listen and be in the loop. And I can pass it to, let me see, Franco.
Thank you, Mo. I am feeling good today. I'm feeling way better than last week. I still have like a new hole in my mouth, which feels weird, but I'm good. My focus this week is going to be documentation, trying to update the translations and try to work with the new tool that Sam created and kind of like use it for the documentation, see if we can get everything translated. It's going to be rewards distribution and Ethereum Barcelona and yeah, and probably something else, I can't remember. Intentions for the call is streaming and catching up, see what's going on with governance. And I'll pass it over to, let me see, Suga.
Thanks, Franco. I'm feeling very, very sad about the Ethereum gas fees, like very sad about that and how it's impacting donations on the Gitcoin round, my own attempts in particular. So yeah, feeling pretty sad about that and mad, I guess. Anyway, moving on. I'm back from vacation, so I'm feeling my intentions are to just catch up on everything that's going on, what I missed, what I've missed, and what's developing. And today is actually still a holiday here in France, so I'm a bit distracted. I've got well, I guess I'm always distracted at this time of the day, so that doesn't really matter. I'll pass it to Matteo.
Sorry, didn't find the button. Hey guys, just here to sync up. Feeling a little bit with a headache, but that's it. I just enjoy being in these meetings to keep up with everything. I'll pass it to Kai.
Hey guys. Yeah, I want to feel hopeful, but maybe feel a little moody, like many technical challenges at the beginning of the week. My general focus is to run through the issue board, also organize it better, and close some things. And I feel I want to check in with you and be here and see what's up in our governance. I give it to Makisi.
Hi everyone. Okay, I'm actually feeling good today. I really just want to just catch up with what's going on in the governance and then see what I can contribute to. So that's all I'm here, and to catch up with everything that's going on. Yeah. I'll pass it on to Nick Ball, if you have one.
Thank you, and GM everyone. I'm feeling great and excited for the week. I'm also excited that I'll be traveling back to the Philippines in a few weeks, so happy for that one. And my focus for the week will still be buddy calls, facilitation, and scheduling. I have to help out other contributors schedule their buddy calls, support HR, support Fischel, support everyone, and also set up some admin stuff, type forms for both GM and Giveth, and a couple of GM stuff. So not distracted at all, and my intention for this call is to listen and to catch up with everyone. And I'm passing it to Michelle.
Thanks. I'm feeling happy. I'm back home, and my focus for this week is to catch up on the things I've missed and to make sure everyone adds their time reports for April this week, and also process the reimbursement if everyone can submit their time reports. And also home office allowance, reimbursing Griff for that. And yeah, I'll pass it to John and Kim.
Yeah, everyone. Feeling good and bad at the same time. I got a cold still from my trip. Other than that, I'm okay. Just trying to keep up. See what's going on. I think I was the last one. I couldn't find anybody missing.
Let's have a look here. I think you're right. I think okay, Lauren went already. Okay, cool. Great. Well, then we can just look into. I think we can start. Great. Thanks for the check-ins. No priority agenda items for now, but don't worry, we still got lots of stuff to talk about. And stuff to sign. Well, I think the only thing we have to do is approve givebacks for round 35. I'm gonna go to this one here. So Ashley snuck this up about half an hour before the call. So if you have some NR give, which many of you do now, we need to approve the votes for, well, let's see if Aragon's going to load this morning. Approve the votes for givebacks and for nice token distribution. There it is. It's loading. Let's go. No excuses. This is Gnosis Chain, so everything should be smooth. Yeah, so that's up there. We got a little under 24 hours to pass those votes. Everybody knows the drill at this point, I'm sure. Go ahead, check it out. Give it a sign. Apart from that, looking back to our agenda, again, nothing in the gift garden, no snapshot. Multi-sigs are good unless somebody snuck something up there this morning. So then we could move right into the forum unless somebody has a question about signing things, voting. Okay. Let's I'm gonna move sub-delfication to last because I think we'll spend the most time talking about it. The first thing I would like to address is the treasury management / reimbursement scheme. We talked about this last week. If you haven't had time to look at it, just looking at, more importantly, spending the funding that we got from Optimism. And so starting to pay back or cover our contributor salary costs in DAI instead of reimbursing all of it in Give. So this would say we would cover anywhere from 40% to 100% of the salary costs until we run out, basically. Sending this to the accounting wallet that Freshell controls to be able to pay people back. And then whatever we don't cover in DAI, we would continue to reimburse and Give. So if you didn't take time to look at it, it's there. I'm just going to look at the vote here. 9 people have voted going for a 50% reimbursement. So that'll be somewhere to the tune of 55,000 DAI monthly. And I think that'll take us to about 5 months from now, covering that at 50%. I want to leave that open for any comment on the call, but after that, I'm gonna call it final since it's been about 12 days. Any questions or concerns? Safe enough to go with?
You're gonna call it final today?
Yeah, it's been up for about 12 days, 11 days now. So if you have any last minute, whatever, this is the chance. Okay. Some other things in the forum post here, revisiting our ETH strategy. Some cool things that I noticed. If we look into our multi-sig, maybe Griff can help me demystify this, but somebody is sending us a tiny amount of ETH several times a day. Do you know about this, Griff?
He says it's Gitcoin. Oh, it's people donating on Gitcoin.
Donating on Gitcoin, but it's the same address.
Same address.
Yeah, they donate to a Gitcoin contract, and the contract sends it to us.
Oh, I see. Okay, because it's been happening for months.
For months? Oh no, then it must be
This
something
is
else.
this is the previous contract, the centralized contract. So that's like the platform that they're fading away, but the contracts are still live.
Oh, never mind. There's a couple random ones here, but anyway, whatever it's doing, it's effective. I'll give them that. I guess these are all random addresses. But this started, I noticed this trend started around late April.
I mean, that would be the Gitcoin grants round.
Yeah.
Interesting. Oh yeah, I guess because we're almost done.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool though. Anyway, all that to say, we've got about 37, 38 ETH that we can move around. We talked about this last week, but if you need a refresher, let's open that forum post. Basically, the best bet, in my opinion, is to migrate everything to index coup using the ICETH strategy. Get us a couple extra percentage points of yield and be a little bit easier to like swap in and out, like being able to liquidate it essentially if we need to, rather than depositing it in a Yearn vault for less yield and less more liquidity friction, trying to turn it into something else. On that one, seems like everybody unanimously voted, everybody at least who cared, move everything to index coup ETH from Yearn. DAI strategy, moving things into idle finance. We have about 15K in Yearn right now and another 18K just sitting idle from DAO drops, and a bunch of DAI coming in from optimism. So I think the vote here was to make a total deposit of around 100. Okay, the majority voted 100K. So using part of the optimism funds compared also with the DAI that we have, and deposit 100,000 DAI into this senior pool and idle finance. And we'll get somewhere between 4 to 7% yield. Last thing, this might be boring, so I'll just speed it up. USDC strategy, again, Goldfinch or idle finance. We don't have that much. We've got about 11,000 here, another 4,000 on Polygon. So we could move into some protocol there. Polygon, we can use BV Finance to get a better yield than what Yearn is offering. And it might be a bit more gas efficient to keep that 4,000 USDC on Polygon rather than bridging it over with gas at well over 150, you know. So just showing the results here, unanimously moving everything from Yearn to Goldfinch. If Goldfinch doesn't work because of their decentralized identity contracts, then we'll try out idle finance. And with Polygon, oh, interesting. Majority says bridge it to mainnet. Okay. Okay. Cool. So that's basically what we'll do if gas calms down a little bit to at least below 100, ideally below 80. We'll see. I'll leave it there. If anyone wants to comment on any of that, or otherwise just give it a thumbs up or Where's the thumbs up button? Hold on, give me a second. Okay, cool. Great. I think we can move on then. I'm gonna skip over to vesting real quick. So I threw this up on Friday. Since we wrapped up the vesting or the NR give distribution for Q1, we can move on to vesting. So I think this is our 5th distribution. I can't remember. But basically, kind of the same drill here. We have about 35. We have 35 eligible contributors. The main shift here that I want to talk about is I was just kind of looking at it. I wanted to suggest making a change. We have these two factors that we use. To calculate how much give people are actually going to get. So one is an NR give factor, which is simply how long have you been an active contributor in Giveth? And the other one is an hours worked factor, which is basically how many hours do you work monthly or weekly or just like an average of how much of your time do you spend contributing for Giveth? So these factors we can manipulate, and essentially they're multiplication factors. So when we manipulate them, we can choose how much we want to value one thing over another. So how much do we want to value how long have you been around versus how much time do you spend working for Giveth on a regular basis? So the proposal that I would like to say is that since now it's been a while, it's been a year and a half since we launched the Giveth economy and started this vesting thing, lowering that amount that we value how long someone's been around, and thus slightly increasing how much we value how many hours people work for Giveth on a regular basis. So that's just like a slight change going from 0.8 down to 0.7. If you want to play around with it, you can fork this beautiful spreadsheet. If I can find it here, and you can see what it will be like keeping it the same or changing it to something else. Does anyone need a better summary than that, or I could try and do a better job?
Thanks for that. I put a question about that, so thanks for explaining.
Okay. Did you put it just before this call? Because otherwise I would have missed it.
Yes. Yes.
Maybe I got it here. Okay, got it. Yeah. Okay, I see your question. Right, I saw it this morning. I'm just making a suggestion basically because I think that like I wanted to support people who were like have been working full time for Giveth for 6 months or longer, still getting exponentially less than people who have just kind of just been around. So that was my intention. I just wanted to boost it a bit more for people who are really spending a lot of time working for Giveth, but just haven't been around for 2 years.
So mostly
Curious to
me,
hear any thoughts.
like less for me.
Well, actually, interesting, Danny, yours didn't change at all because you're still under the original vesting. Like this sheet here. So there was an original amount that was assigned to you here. And if you go outside of 20%, then we calculate it differently. So actually, Danny and Marco actually have stayed the same.
Yeah, I looked at it and
Yeah.
I voted for the change anyways because I fully understand the rationale behind it. And yeah, we'd made the best guesses we could when we had to make those 3 buckets, and we've learned more now. And valuing everybody who's kicking ass and putting in tons of hours on all this stuff is important to me too.
The realistic change is that anybody that's on this future contributors calculation will earn a little bit less, like a tiny bit less. If you've been around since the beginning, you earn a tiny bit less than the people who are at the bottom who maybe, this is their first distribution will get like a little bit more, So the people who are working full time and have been around for 6+ months will just get a tiny little bit more than they would have normally.
Did you just say so like people that are new and coming in now will also get more? Is there like incentivization there for new contributors to up their skills and contribute in more places?
I don't know if it's about contributing more in more places, but it's like there was just a massive gap between, you know, this person here who just joined is working the same amount of hours as the person up here, you know, who's been around for 2.5 years. And there's like, you know, a 400% difference in the amount of vesting that they get. So I just wanted to like decrease that gap a little bit.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Thank you for seeing that and putting that forward.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to leave it up for the rest of the week for people to check out and leave more comments or questions. And then sometime next week, I'll go with the numbers and make the next step of the proposal for confirmation. And make sure that your addresses are right in the spreadsheet there. I took the same one that you requested enter give tokens from and just put it in there. So that's where I got your addresses from. Okay. Great. There's another one here. Home office allowance. Let's check this out. For Shell, you want to give us the lowdown?
Yes, so earlier, like an hour ago, we already sent the reimbursement for the people who were eligible. So we sent 1,796 XDAI and 1,338 USDT on Polygon, and that was from Griff's personal wallet. So we would reimburse Griff with stable tokens from Giveth wallet. So we didn't do the plan like the one we proposed that we pay for directly from the Giveth wallet. So yeah. Would that be requested from the multi-sig, Mitch?
No,
Yeah,
so
okay,
so,
go ahead, Griff.
So like Optimism withdraw to mainnet has been a little bit slower than I wanted because the gas has gone so crazy. So I just kind of was like, hey, let's just do it, and then we don't need to pay, because right now at 40 gigawatt it'll cost $70 to withdraw, and that's what it's sitting at. And it's like, okay, if I want to go through this now, it'll cost $280, you know, to get the money out. So it's like, just be patient, but not delay the home office allowance reimbursement. So I sent out the cash from my personal address on all the side chains that people like, and then when the money comes into that donation address, just send it to me, or send like reimbursement of what I sent on the home office allowance. And then also I don't know what to do with that DAI.
Can we just send you the DAI that's in the multi-sig right now?
Yeah.
There's like 18,000 DAIs. I mean, like.
Can we do it on a sidechain so we don't have to pay all the gas?
Well, if I'm just sending you DAI, like a single transaction.
Okay.
Like we're gonna pay just as much to bridge it somewhere else, you know?
Yeah. It's only. I think it's only like, how much is it for Shell? Like $2,000.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we might have that on Polygon or something too.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah, there's. We can give you USDC. I'm sure there's like 4,000 something on Polygon and USDC.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point it's just like whenever we can avoid mainnet, we do.
Yeah, because I won't probably do anything with the treasury management with gas in this state either. So.
No, and that's another thing. I mean, really, there's nothing on Polygon or Optimism that we can like just bridge all of our mainnet funds and start doing this stuff on Arbitrum or something. Oh wow, we got CUSD and Cello. That's great. Yeah.
Like I said, in the forum, it's like as soon as like if I see something realistically that is safe and gives us a good yield that's not on mainnet, sure, but I just don't see it yet. It's like all of the institutional investment, and all that money that like funds secure protocols is not on these other chains yet.
That's fair.
So, yeah,
Question.
the best and biggest, unfortunately. Go ahead, Danny.
What would be the evaluation process or team for deciding like Arbitrum, Polygon, Optimism? Is there something that we could be doing to test or connect or to find out which of those would be a viable alternative the soonest
For
for the mainnet?
treasury management?
Mm-hmm.
Just like a lot of research. Like I don't know who's
Yeah.
the best people, like myself or Griff or Kotabe's been doing some research as well. But it's like it's got to be safe,
Yeah.
We can't be putting 100K DAI, into some sketchy ass meme coin, and
So security is the number one factor.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm open to anything. Like if people find something else that they can, they think is reasonably, well, extremely secure, not reasonably secure, then like go ahead, let's look into it. But I haven't seen, yeah. I think that the probably the next best place will be Arbitrum, though, if I had to guess, for like secure DeFi.
And I think that from what I saw on the forum post, Mitch, like another factor that is important is kind of like simplicity, right? I think that you were mentioning kind of like liquid staking tokens rather than staking on a protocol. That will be more beneficial.
Well, it was like Franco said, for example, when we were hanging out, it's like we could run a validator, and have this like risk-free return rate. But when you put it in a validator, it's not very liquid. If you need it, it's like might take a week. It might, it's like you can't get it right away. And so if we think we might need that money right away, there's this extra friction. And the same thing, it's like when you're depositing into a protocol, it's like, okay, you need to get the right token, and then you need to deposit it into the thing, and you're depositing a contract. But when you have these liquid staking tokens, you can just trade them like regular tokens. So I can buy staked Ether, and then if tomorrow I need it in DAI, that's just like a single transaction on Uniswap. It's done. So little things like that I think maybe most people won't think about, but if like having the technical mindset of like, okay, how much friction is it if I need to cash this out, like, tomorrow?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. I want to, like I said, we're going to take this whole week. Actually, no, I want to do the treasury stuff soon, but while we have time until gas calms down, like just if you think of anything else, then I'm open to it. But moving on, we got 20 minutes left, so let's have a look at this one here. Lots of action on this subdalification thing. So I think it was Tuesday or something. I just kind of took everything that everybody said to me over the last several weeks, and like this is my best guess, or my very educated guess on what I think our working groups will look like. If you haven't read it, go and read it. But the high level is these 6 working groups that will kind of remain persistent and handle a lot of the tasks that we're doing right now and just kind of reorganize them. This will be the DAP, Give Economy, Rewards, DAO Ops, Communitas, and fundraising and partnerships. So I think that's what, I said this a couple weeks ago and nobody really, there wasn't a lot of resistance to it. So this is what we're looking at here. And then chapters, which kind of like operate in the background for like people who have the same skills to kind of like hang out, do centralized resource planning, do peer review, cover people in case they need to like, go on vacation or have babies or something, that would be communications, development, design, DevOps, and strategy. Some of them leaders, some of them don't. I didn't think it was a requirement that they needed to have a leader, but at least identifying them and maybe like planning some calls. Like, Lauren started planning strategy call already, which we're going to have tomorrow. And so just like getting the ball rolling. The other part of that is working group proposal format. So kind of all of the same things that I said about a month ago, incorporating some stuff from Griff, in the budget approval process, having, different options for either growing, for sustaining, so staying like flat, and then lastly for shrinking. So if you, if you go big and you want a bigger budget, what are you going to deliver? If you maintain, what services you're going to keep? And if we vote to shrink the working group, then like what things get cut out of its scope. And then some stuff, kind of using my best guess around like managing leadership. So there was like a good point of like, okay, if working group leads kind of like have a lot of this autonomy and like agency to control the working group, then like how do we keep them in check? Adding in some sort of process into a regular peer review, whether it's a separate type form where we like review leaders, if it's integrated into our contributor type form, whatever it is, but like having a way that we can review leaders with a separate flow. The proposal I had here, which I mean, I'm totally open to changing it, is to have like a threshold. And if like the peer review, the result of the peer review or the leadership review is like under a certain threshold, like we figure out, we're able to quantify that this person like isn't doing a great job, then we can have a process to pick a new leader essentially. And, maybe the same leader is picked from the process, or maybe a new one is picked, and then we'll have to figure out like how that actually works in terms of like a transition process. Maybe
That's what I put a little comment about, Mitch. Because just like how it's written in there, I heard you say again here, we're talking about keeping leaders in check and what to do if somebody's not doing great. And we have graviton and conflict management, which is great, but what's in between there and how are we making great leaders is what I would ask us to consider. Most organizations have some sort of leadership development, training, time that you plan to become really good at what you do. And from my experience, I've seen that often when somebody is struggling with a little coaching and guidance, they can become your best people. So just thinking from that side of things, how are we cultivating awesome leadership in Giveth is what I would ask. What are some of the programs and protocols we have for helping someone become ever better instead of waiting for them to fail and going, boo, you're out.
Yeah, I love this. It just it feels like a great complementing aspect to add to the whole process. And I also think that have a little bit of a scalation, and exactly, as we want to work with some constructive feedback for contributors, as much we need to also find ways how to work with the constructive feedback for leaders, right? And so Heather and I were brainstorming around this and trying to figure out how can we actually support individual contributors, whether it's contributor or leader, on like implementing the feedback and actually like acting upon it and becoming a better in what they do. So maybe even just like have a team, you know, that can be able to provide these types of counsel and coaching type of coaching. It would be very, I think, beneficial for this type of process. And sort of like making it black and white. And of course, like if there's a really, really bad ranking and it does reach below a certain threshold, then it might be a very obvious case that, okay, this is really not working and we need to nominate a new leader. But maybe even like interesting point to look at this is how can we prevent like choosing really bad leader, you know, in the first place, and have a good filtration process for this. And I feel like the leadership
I don't know if her audio cut out or mine.
ouch.
Yeah, we lost you, Nicola, in the middle of your sentence.
What did you hear?
Last 20 seconds, didn't hear it.
Yeah, I said that, you know, maybe if we adjust the filter in which we onboard leaders in the first place, and we can actually prevent choosing a bad leader in the first place, but try to have this HR system in place for their at the same, yeah, it would be in a correlation with the feedback form, but the feedback form for leaders would be designed for the skills that are asked from leaders, right? So we would rate these things and we would try to improve these things in the first place, I imagine.
Yeah, I just want to caution on that note of the fact that everybody who has come through Graviton has been a performance issue doesn't mean that we don't have good people. It could also mean we don't have good training.
I have a controversial opinion on that, but I'll keep it to myself for now.
No way.
I think this is interesting. I hope we don't over-engineer it because we might very rarely have to deal with this. You know, I'm not assuming every leader we pick is going to be bad, and we have a lot of strong leaders already that have been doing this for a while. But I think you both have good points, and we can work on this concurrently with the rest of the process, because we probably won't need to pick new leaders probably for the next 6 months unless something real bad happens.
Yeah,
I just
totally.
want to suggest, you know, it's never been something we've been able to think about is providing development, but as a work group lead is analyzing their budget, thinking about how to grow people on their team or peripheral contributors into those roles is really important rather than feeling like we have to go find it from outside.
Okay. I want to at least spend some time dealing with some stuff that Ashley and Suga brought up, and I'm just like curious what some people think. I wonder if there's anything else I need to summarize from here. Yeah, some stuff around managing contributors. Just take some time and read it. Thinking about, you know, putting the sub-DAO and the sub-DAOification. If you know, many CEOs have their own, or we give them voting systems to help them make like token weighted decision making. Maybe we can use this to manage contributors as they so choose, you know, for things like onboarding and offboarding people, which is important. And I want to, if we think we should dictate it as like a DAO or like let working groups decide how to handle it, I'm in the favor of letting people figure it out within their own groups rather than us trying to have one structure for all the working groups in terms of like how they manage themselves. I'm going to keep powering through. There's some next steps here. Take some time to read them. Everyone's had lots of great comments, but Ashley brought up some stuff here with some questions around how we deal with things like this call, the community call, the buddy system, dishing praise, like all these little like corner things. And I'm putting like what I think we should do, and just to keep moving forward, things like, you know, people spending time reading the forum, people spending time writing comments in the forum, you know, how do we build that? My stance on some of this stuff is like we can decentralize it into working groups. So like I'd like to like move a lot of the stuff that we talk about in this call into working groups. Like maybe I don't need to talk to the whole DAO about treasury management, and maybe there's like a group that I can just talk to and we can make the call. You know, same with this like smaller stuff, you know, like ETH Barcelona or whatnot, you know, having a clear way to deal with that. So ideally, you know, governance and forum and voting, to me, we could reduce that amount of time that we need to spend as a DAO into like spending it more granularly into working groups. And then we don't really have to worry as much about like, where do we build this massive amount of time that we spend reading the forum, because you're only like, you have specific roles. And so you're only reading stuff that's like relevant to your role, I hope, mostly. Take some time, read it. I'm probably not paraphrasing what I was trying to say very well. The next thing is attending the community call. Again, everyone spends an hour a week on the community call. Some of us spend more preparing slides and presentations and whatnot. But people who aren't presenting something on the community call, like if you're presenting on the community call, you have like a working group that you're doing it for, or maybe a chapter, I don't know. But if you're just coming to hang out in the community call, the question is, should you get paid for it? That's interesting. Most people join the community call that are on the team. In fact, almost everybody in the community call is on the team, about 95%, minus the people who are presenting to the team on the community call. So should we get paid for that, or is that a thing that you just kind of join?
I think the community call is an opportunity for all working groups to know what's going on in all other working groups. So it's like, I don't know. I think it's like, you know, a little bit of a gray area if you're working a full-time role, and this counts as like one of your 8 hours on a Thursday. I think that's reasonable. But I mean, if you're billing hourly and you're only working 5 hours a week and one of them is just to like sit in the community call, I think maybe for full-time contributors, yes, and maybe for very part-time contributors, no. That's what I'm saying. Because I do think there is value in going to the community call to understand what's going on in other working groups. Like if you're in comms, then you can go there and you know, oh, these are the things that are coming up from development, so that you can like help contribute to the prioritization. I think it's like a good sense-making place.
Yeah, I think I agree with Lauren there. I don't know. So if anybody saw my comments on the forum where, yeah, I agree with that. And I probably shouldn't have used the word billable, because I do believe that this is part of our role as full-time contributors, but it is more complicated for less than full-time contributors, for sure. But I guess I want to raise one point, and if you haven't read all those comments, it would be great to hear your feedback when you do. After Danny just spoke, I was realizing there's actually kind of a bigger umbrella issue here, where what I'm talking about in my comment is quite similar. It's very related to what Danny just brought up in terms of what's the word you use, Danny? In terms of leadership, what's the word? Formation. Sorry, that's the French word. I can't remember what you said, Danny. Development, perhaps. And so I think there's something related here, where instead of kind of dividing us, we need to look at it as in a more of a unifying sense. I feel a little bit worried about this process of creating these kind of insular groups where you're no longer participating across the spectrum because your role on paper only pays for you to do X, Y, and Z. So you no longer pay attention to what's happening over here. But in fact, that compromises your very role because now you don't have the bigger picture. At least that's the feeling I was getting, and it feels a little bit worrisome. And it seems like maybe if we could spin it into a more inclusive, positive version of what we become as contributors in a more decentralized fashion, but at the same time more unified. And maybe that sounds way too abstract and philosophical, but I only just thought of it when Danny gave her comments. So just have a look at those comments. I know we only have a couple minutes left.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I personally I really want to chew through a lot of this stuff just so I feel like I can move forward. I understand there's a fundraising call and like if you need to live in 4 minutes, so be it. But I'm gonna hang out here and probably keep chewing through this. I hear you. I also I feel like my concern is that a lot of people are spending a lot of time everywhere, and I want people to spend less time everywhere and like spend more time focused on like specific groups or products or things. And so it's like I hear your point, Suga, and it's hard because we have boundaries. We have no boundaries right now. It's like you can do whatever you want at any time for any amount of your week. And so we need those boundaries. It's like, if you're in every single call on the forum all the time and you spend only a quarter of your time like working or producing content, like I'm not pointing any names, but like within our system, somebody could do that and get paid for it all. So that's what needs to be addressed. That's what I feel like needs to be addressed at least.
Yeah, that's interesting, Mitch. I was talking with Tam about this the other day. Actually, I went to her house on vacation last week, funnily enough. And she was talking about how in Common Stack, her approach is it's about the deliverables. And I know we're trying to approach that too. And I agree with you and what you just said. That totally makes sense. So in fact, it's less about the time you spent, however you spend your time. I mean, in terms of like full-time contributors. So it's not a question of logging in your 40 hours. It's what you contribute to Giveth. And I know you're working to implement that. And I think that makes sense. So if somehow we could make that meet, I feel ill-equipped to understand how that would work for non-full-time contributors, because like what Lauren just said, that's a bit more complicated, where you can just be like, oh yeah, I billed for this because I was in all this meeting, and you're kind of like freeloading off of that. But in fact, if we're turning it into the version, I think it feels like both Griff and Mo were mentioning this over the last couple of months, that we're looking at deliverables. What is it that you're meant to be producing by the end of the month or the end of the quarter, or whatever the heck it is? And if that means you want to sit in on devs calls because you feel like that's going to help you gain more knowledge, that's up to you, right? See what I mean? Okay, that might be going a little far off tangent, but the idea being that you can't, well, I don't know. I don't want to ramble. Back to you.
I just want to say one thing here. It's kind of like you guys are making my case for me, because we do need boundaries, but those boundaries, we don't want to over regulate something like this. What we want to do is make sure that the leaders of these groups have the skills to make these coaching decisions and to evaluate how people are doing and whether they're using their time the best that they can without having to have too many hard boundaries that guide it.
I think
Go ahead, Lauren. I've been hearing you. You're like, please go.
It's okay. I think the community call is like everyone should go to the community call, and that can count as a billable hour to get in the loop on everything. But then when it comes to all the other many calls, and I was talking about this with Almond as well, maybe like the lead of the call can determine who's like actually needed in that call, and then those are the people who are allowed to bill that call hour, basically. Because like right now in comms we have like 15 people show up and like really only 4 people are doing work, and so it's like yeah, we can put that responsibility on the leader of the working group who's running a particular call to also say whether or not like that person is needed in the call or they're adding value. And then that's like the determining factor. But community call is like, come to the community call so you know what's going on in the whole space. And this is like valuable for everyone.
And just one like caveat is that for onboarding, it's often very nice for new people. Like Carlos is in this call right now, and it's really nice for new people who are coming in to just like go to every call and be paid to do that, because it's like it's part of how you understand what the hell is going on, and it's really hard to onboard in general to Giveth. So I think that's also another maybe exception we could say.
Okay. There's a fundraising call right now. And I know Yas is not here to lead it, so I don't know who's leading that, but if people need to go to the fundraising call, they can go ahead. Otherwise, if a lot of people leave, then we'll probably end the call, but if we have a good amount, we can still keep trying to discuss through these things.
I feel a pretty big obligation to the fundraising call, but also to this. That's a hard choice.
Okay.
But if Yas
okay.
isn't there, I don't know who's running the call. Griff?
Yeah, I can see Griff there and Kotabe right now. I wanted to ask, what else would you like to discuss, Mitch? Yeah.
Well, Sugar brought up a point that was also around praise. Like, should we pay people to dish praise? And my opinion was no. You know.
But see, I have a pretty big problem with trying to distinguish. I don't know. I feel like maybe my comments haven't been yet, but I think that we have, this is a work environment. Like, you can't expect people to be doing things and not being compensated for it. There are a lot of repercussions to that, which I outlined.
You're considering praise work? That's what bugs me. Hey, you're doing a great job. Hey, that's a buck. Cool. That's what I think.
Hey,
That's how I hear.
I was just going to
Yeah,
mention
well,
that
yes.
this has been coming up in
One
our
person at a
rewards
time,
team
please.
conversations, and it's a great example of something we can like. I'm putting together a forum post right now from the reward group on what we've learned from evaluating the history of praise and noticing our trends and making recommendations around it, which there could be a reason coming from that group for why we might want to incentivize people to praise in some way or another. I don't think paying people like to do it, but I do think that there's other things we can do. But just so you know, that's something that we're working on in that group.
Honestly, are we talking like about 5 minutes a day that it takes you to praise other people in general? How do you even want to cut it out of like the work time? I mean, if we do have it part of the culture and maybe it's like 5 minutes at the beginning or end of the call at most.
And I mean, anybody can praise. Like, hopefully it's not just us that's dishing praise, but like, you know, there's people who aren't getting paid that are coming in and dishing praise, and then and then you work for Giveth, and then because you work for Giveth, then we're gonna pay you to dish praise when, you know, hopefully it's not just us using it.
But I just want to point out that the way you're presenting that argument is a logical fallacy, where you're presenting in a sense that to challenge that idea is very unattractive. So there's already a sense that, and I was just mocked in this call, like you're gonna pay people to be praised. Well, yes, in fact, my point is to say that ethically speaking, if you get engaged by Giveth as a paid contributor, then the work that you put in to Giveth should be compensated. And if you start trying to remove elements of that and saying, no, these minutes that you spend, or whatever it is, the time that you spend operating for Giveth, that's promoted by Griff like excessively every single week. Praise, 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 do this. I'm not trying to say anything in particular about praise, I'm just saying that the time that you spent with doing your buddy calls, or the review forms, or anything that you're expected to do as a contributor, you can't suddenly extricate and say that these elements you're no longer going to be compensated for, but you still have to do them because you are a contributor to this organization.
Mm-hmm. I hear you. So there's some things that are like, okay, the community call seems like it's an important thing, and the buddy system is an extremely important thing. I agree with that. And then it's like, then we have to like kind of nitpick all these things. So then it's clear for people, like, I guess, what the expectations are from them. You know, it's like, are you really expected to dish praise, or is it like something that like we should encourage you to do? And so like clarifying those things, and like I can see your point where it's like, okay, not all of these things should be put into boxes that are like they need to be a working group or you're not getting paid for them. And so there's
Yeah.
not a clear solution. Go ahead, Lauren, please.
I can't imagine anyone spending hours a week. It's like almost like we're spending too much time in this call talking about whether or not we pay people for paying praise, because who spends a full hour just writing praise in a single week? And it's like, can't it just be water under the bridge? Like maybe you're getting paid or maybe not, but it's like in the minutes of like that you had spent an hour on something else.
No, but of course, but it's the principle. I'm just using it as an example because Ashley brought it up. And even if you look at the forum post, she brings it up in a kind of embarrassment. You know, that's the whole point, is that she feels like embarrassed or awkward to have to bring up this splitting hair. She's like, you know, she excuses herself for this thing. And that's part of the point. It's like, we are pressured into certain roles. We are encouraged constantly. Like praise is the biggest shining star on top of the cherry pie Christmas tree. And that's great. You know, praise is great. But once again, it's part of our work environment. So it's a teeny tiny example. It's becoming like just a metaphor to say that we have to be careful in the way that we're treating what we expect from contributors, and suddenly we'll be expecting them. If we create this kind of insular subdouification where we have these, as Danny put it, these kind of what's the word she used? These surveilled isn't what she said, but these divisions, this this kind of dang it, I can't think of the word she said.
It's just over-regulating.
Thank you. That's it. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah, sort of overregulated instead of spinning it the other way. So forget about billing praise. It's nothing to do with billing praise. It's about that concept that we need to create instead of this unity and a value in what the contributors are contributing, instead of forcing them or pressuring them to contribute things that they've always been contributing that suddenly will no longer be compensated, but they'll have to be doing it anyway because that is part of the structure.
And I guess for me, some of it comes from, because we're creating these separate boxes for budgets. It's like, so which box does this time go in? Which box does that time go in? And if eventually the idea is that there won't be salary contributors anymore, then that really brings it down to like, what time am I which box am I putting this time in, and which box is this time coming from? And I know as the Communitas steward, I'm going to have a lot of contributors asking me questions about, okay, well, which working group does this hour go in, or which working group does that hour go in? And the same thing with voting and, leaving comments in the forum. It's like, should we also, it came up that we wouldn't, if the time spent voting or signing on multi-sig transactions, it's like, if people don't know which box to put it in, then there's just no compensation for that time spent being a contributor.
Great points. Great points, Ashley. It's just a matter of understanding how to manage your work and your workflow.
Okay. I understand the point, and I think Danny had some, well, basically to a comment. Sorry, I didn't do a very good job paraphrasing what you said, Suga. I was actively like paying attention, so I didn't take very good notes. So I think Danny had a really good point. It's like, or no, it was you, Suga, that said about like in the comment stack about like having deliverables and less about the actual time you spend, but rather about like what you deliver and like not really being relevant to like the time you spent, but as long as you're delivering the things. That is an interesting idea. I have to think about like, well, we have to think about like, okay, what does that actually mean in the context of full-time and part-time contributors and outside contributors and all that stuff. I don't think dishing praise is the hill to die on, but I understand the point that you're trying to make. It's like, and Ashley too, it's like if we try and put everything in a box, that maybe it's not the best strategy, and like there has to be something that's more flexible than just like having boxes and rules for everything.
Well, maybe if you're not happy, you just submit a gravity case. You know, it's also about building trust between each other, right? And I mean,
Well, I don't have conflict with Suga, but I'm like, okay, wait, if we're gonna go
Yeah.
this route, we have to clearly think about it. It's like criticism is fair, but I have not seen any clear solutions yet either. So
Yeah, I agree. I'm not proposing a solution, obviously. I'm just raising what I think is an ethical issue of workers' rights. And I'm not trying to,
sure.
die on the hill, die on the praise hill at all.
Yeah. It's like if everyone has lots of criticism and you want me to think of solutions, it's like, this is what I got, but
Yeah, I'd
I
like to
can't
explore what Danny was
you
saying.
know.
Yeah.
I want
Yeah.
to just say one thing that I'm hearing from this, because these are soft skills, and a big danger we have is in generalization. So if we are seeing an issue that comes up, you've got to be able to take a look at, is this an organizational wide issue, or is this a coaching issue? Is there a person who is clocking time for things that aren't really super valuable or contributing to moving us forward towards our goals and objectives and things? Then that's a direct feedback conversation to have with an individual, rather than trying to figure out how do we regulate those things for everybody.
yeah, that's really
That's
great.
brilliant.
Danny, and you already mentioned what has been happening, and I don't see this, not happening in like the way we are set up as an organization. These things may just rise up as they have been, and we are managing to address them accordingly and work through it thanks to the negotiation process and thanks to direct conversations and communications and thanks to adjusting agreements. And I'm speaking from a graviton standpoint, because we just have been doing something like this. And I wish there was just more gravitons, so that we can stand as this group of like addressing the individual issues as they arise, where there is a tension between these types of things, because I don't see that that's gonna like stop happening, the way we're set up as an organization. It's always going to there's going to be issues here and there where we are going to have address things. I think what's important is, hey, did I deliver what I said I'm going to deliver? Yes, this is how much it took me. And if the leader of the group sees that, oh, this is crazy amount of time, how is it possible that it took you so long? If I'm not able to put the like real arguments on why it did take me so long, or somebody in doubt thinks that I am taking too much time to do things and to deliver, then we have to address it as a group. Maybe it stays within the group, maybe it's one of the leaders, really improving the soft skills and managing people, but keeping it maybe within the smaller groups and addressing issues as they arise. So delivers are important.
It's
Yes.
also important how you deliver.
Right.
I think those are
Okay.
great
I feel
comments. Oh, sorry. I'll just say my last thing. What Danny and Nicola are saying, I think we really need to incorporate those ideas that in fact, we have to be careful about this over-regulating. And it kind of takes me back, Mitch, to the beginnings of the TEC and the importance of, what we call the cultural build and all of that. We need that, development, I think, in this body to be able to understand what we expect from people, the contributors themselves, and show them and help them, or us, myself, right? How to be the best contributors we can be without an over-regulated kind of control.
Okay. All right. I feel bad because we don't have a lot of the right people here. I feel like we're not really at quorum, but maybe some last comments and hopefully we can wrap this up. If you guys want to get anything else in the notes or the recording. I think my last comment I would like to make to Gravity, and kind of the way we've set up our offboarding process is a bit of a farce. I don't think it works very well / at all. So like some stuff that we brought up from the steward session was like, Gravity's great for smoothing out conflict, but it doesn't really like deal with offboarding. Like when we know we'll have a call with them and we figure out what the problems are, but I'm like, yeah, but I still don't think that person's doing a great job. And like, I don't think Gravity teaches that skill set of like, going from that discussion to this one, we're like, no, actually, I don't think they should like keep going.
Yeah, I agree
What's the next step?
100%. I'm noticing this too, and especially that's I mentioned in my comment, seeing that, I'm here to be like more also as a role in the mediator when we're speaking about Gravity, right? And the mediator's role is to empower people to have good quality conversations and be able to find agreements between each other. Role of mediator is not to bring a solution or is not the arbitration, right? And I am noticing that 100% of the cases that come through the Gravity are related with contributors, performance. And even more, they are coming from people that are most of the time they are leaders of some sort of group, So this is a really issue that needs to be addressed, and I mentioned in my comment, and maybe it's part of the offboarding, and that's why I wanted to have a HR meeting to have an opinion from HR. What do you think, guys? How this can be actually, how can we implement some type of boarding process for contributors? Well, maybe it's a three-way step. It's a three-step way. Sorry. So first, if there is a case, that's like escalated feedbacks are related to they're related less to the conflict and more to the contributions in general. That's safe to say. Then there is a meeting that is facilitated. I'm actually we're doing something like this right now. So then there is a meeting that is facilitated between those two parties. One of the party is a leader of the group, another party is a contributor. There is agreement established and 2 months follow up. In 2 months, we're gonna set up the body review call with these two same people again and evaluate if something changed or hasn't changed. And if it didn't change, then there's a last chance to come up with a solution. And then, if still nothing happens after that, then the person, probably both parties will agree voluntarily that this doesn't make sense for none of us, because none of those two people will be happy in that conversation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is why I mentioned that it's the gap between identifying a problem and getting to Gravity. And what's coming to my mind right now, especially since we're bringing in Common Stack or token engineering, is Giveth as a commons, and what having graduated sanctions is something to consider. Where does going to mediation and graviton fall on graduated sanctions? When do we identify a problem and address it at an early level and stage with successive sanctions leading to mediation if necessary? But that's what's just coming up for me is what are we doing to identify these performance issues and work with people sooner before it turns into a conflict?
In my mind, it looks like this. First, you have a problem with someone, you send them a feedback, peer feedback. You be as direct as possible in your feedback. If nothing has changed, then you go speak directly to the person, or you can skip this step and go like have this direct conversation with the person, right? And then if nothing changes after this, then it goes to the graviton where you need a mediator, you need someone who will help to facilitate the conversation. I mean, that's just an idea, right? I don't know if it's applicable on us, but it's sort of graduation that can go
Yeah.
from.
I mean, it's not just an idea; it's a practice. That's what is out there in a lot of our governance systems. But yeah, that's what I'm hearing right now, is having other ways to provide coaching and feedback for people is what we're talking about. I gotta go, guys. Thanks. This is beautiful.
Thanks, Danny.
And ciao.
Yeah, this is really great, and I think we could easily spend another hour, but I think we got to wrap this up because, well, people are dropping out that I think should be part of this discussion, and so I don't want to leave them out.
Yeah, I'd like to head over to the fundraising call.
Yeah, totally.
I want to hear all of your feedback in the forum, and we'll probably have to talk about this again next week, or maybe even plan something separate, but we'll leave it there and we'll keep chatting in the forum.
Thanks a lot, Mitch.
Okay.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mitch.
Thanks.
Thanks for